DeLauro, Ranking Member Cole. My name is Mr. Lodriguez Murray, Senior Vice President for Public Policy and Government Affairs for UNCF, United Negro College Fund. You may be familiar with our motto, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste." UNCF has two functions. First, we raise funds on behalf of private historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs. Second, we also are a significant scholarship granting organization. Annually, UNCF awards over $100 million in scholarships to approximately 10,000 students at some 1,100 different colleges and universities. UNCF is the second largest private provider of scholarships in the country overall. Additionally, we are the largest private provider of scholarships to minorities. That means UNCF doesn't just represent the 37 member institutions or the 100 plus HBCUs, but we really represent the concerns of low to moderate income students wherever they're enrolled. Personally, I'm an HBCU and a UNCF product. When I arrived at Morehouse College, I was a first-generation college student and a first-generation high school graduate. Largely because of UNCF's support, I was able to graduate Morehouse nearly debt-free. This is why the testimony today is a full circle moment. HBCUs have received a great deal of attention recently. The coronavirus pandemic has brought much needed attention to long, persistent disparities. HBCUs have been at the forefront of improving education and health disparities long before the issues have recently become vogue. For over 150 years, HBCUs have been educating the progeny of slaves and now do more to educate and graduate underserved students than any other group of higher education institutions in the country. Now, there has been an influx in funding to HBCUs. This subcommittee and Madam Chair, your full committee, have been responsible for funding that have stabilized HBCUs and allowed us to successfully navigate the coronavirus pandemic. As much funding as has come our way, I want to be clear, a 2-year influx cannot reverse 150 years of systemic, persistent underfunding. Now, while we're thankful for President Biden's requested proposed investments in HBCUs, I do want to draw your attention to a few budget lines. The Department of Education's strengthening HBCU discretionary program should be funded at no less than $500 million. The Strengthening Historically Black Graduate Institution discretionary program, no less than $100 million. We should forgive the remaining balances of institutions currently participating in the HBCU Capital Finance Program. We should double the Pell Grant, and we should strengthen the pipeline training programs at the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, the top funding request for HBCUs is $500 million for strengthening HBCU, that program at the Department of Education. That program holds particular importance in our community because an institution can use the fund up to 17 different legislative ways, depending on the institution's needs. Currently funded at $337 million, all 100 accredited HBCUs compete for this pool of very limited resources. This month, our institutions graduated nearly 50,000 students. Based on that fact, that our institutions provide so much of the diverse workforce that our country values, it is our collective view that Congress should increase the program to reflect the value of our graduates. We recommend $500 million for the discretionary program. This is, again, HBCU's top funding priority. While the president's budget would seek to fund it at the authorized level, I must call the subcommittee's attention to one fact. There is one single HBCU that received a funding increase last fiscal year of $100 million all by themselves. All 100 plus HBCUs were forced to share in a collective, much smaller $25 million increase. This disparity in cap on overall strengthening HBCU program, it has to be done away with. We must invest $500 million in this program and an additional $100 million in the Strengthening Historically Black Graduate Institutions program. I want to reemphasize that HBCUs meet a national need, bright, capable graduates who tend to come from underserved backgrounds. However, the education they receive enables them to become productive citizens who contribute to our country in numerous ways. And I don't even have to mention the fact that well over 40% of the CBC members, your colleagues, are HBCU graduates. UNCF produced a report on the economic impact of HBCUs in November 2017. UNCF found that one single graduating class of HBCU students will earn a minimum of $130 billion collectively, one class, over their lifetime. HBCUs collectively hire and fire like a Fortune 50 company. Moreover, our institutions altogether have an annual economic impact of $15 billion. HBCUs do what no other type of institutions in this country does or attempts. And for that, we hope this panel will support us by implementing the funding requests I've made today. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any of your questions, and I want to commend you on such a long hearing day and for your attentiveness.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lodriguez, and it's great to see you again. I was pleased to be with you. I guess we do that by Zoom. I lose track these days, but with Congresswoman Alma Adams, where we all gathered, and so forth. Thank you for your strong presentation. And I think we're very, very attuned to the role that HBCUs play in our nation and in our education system, and very, very, proud that so many of our members are graduates of HBCUs. So what we did do in the last go round is you talked about the $363 million. It was about a 7.5% increase. And understanding we wanted to strengthen the HBCUs and the number of 500. I'm going to be upfront with you. We need to know what our numbers are. It's clearly we went up last year in doing this, and we made an increase. We are committed to maintaining the strength of the HBCUs. We just need to know where our numbers are going to come out, and then how we are going to be able to allocate the funding. But there is, the commitment to continue to support HBCUs in the most robust way that we possibly can. So, and again, thank you for the clarity of your testimony and the strength of the testimony. You are, and the strength in the last meeting we had as well. It was a great gathering. So thank you. And let me yield to the ranking member.
Well, thank you very much, and thank our witness. That was an excellent and very powerful presentation, and frankly, quite compelling. And obviously, we've had several representatives of different minority serving institutions that have testified before us today, and there's a common theme that runs through them all, which is the disproportionate contribution that these institutions make, and how high a percentage of whether it's medical professionals, and I'm sure if we were talking lawyers and obviously politicians, people might think we have too many of those. I don't know, but it's capped by law, so you don't have to worry about that. But the reality is these institutions are tremendous value, and have historically overperformed on limited resources. So again, and I know that I associate myself with the chair's remarks. It gets down to the numbers and what can we do, and we don't know that yet. But again, this is not an area where we tend to disagree or debate. It's an area where we put our heads together and see what can we find in common. And obviously, there's a lot of our colleagues on both sides of the aisle that are enormous supporters of HBCUs and weigh in as well, not just on the committee, but from other committees as well. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you for the great work of the institutions that you represent. And we look forward to working with you going forward. Yield back, Madam Chair.
Thank you.